hero.
You can do that, Stanley. You can do all those things without being covered in bulls' testicles and frog spawn and snakes and being buried alive with rats.
Well, I tell you what, let's imagine that it's a parody, not a parody, a paradigm of what real life is like in the political jungle, if you see what I mean.
You think so? Look at it from the programme's point of view. What do you think they are thinking in that production room about getting Matt Hancock? Why would they think it's a great idea?
Well, Matt Hancock is a bit of a celebrity already, for reasons I needn't go into, but he was also health secretary. He's a dynamic, likable fellow. He's a guy who lost, by the way, about 2 stones in weight in order to ride a horse in a flat race at Newmarket. I think he won too. So yeah, he's up there. I mean, okay, he may not be there with Boy George. He may not be there with Mike Phillips, but he's there.
He's pretty up there with political names. And Stanley, let's be frank about this. People do love that show. Is so popular. People love to watch someone like a big political name going through horrible ordeals. It appeals to the sadist in millions. Let's be honest, it does, Stanley, doesn't it?
Well, that's very interesting. I didn't think myself I went through any particularly awesome things. Okay, I had to eat a bull's testicle or two, and that sort
and what
of
else
stuff.
did you have to do, if you recall?
Well, of course, there was a program called the Factory of Fear, where you were, buckets of things were loaded on you.
Buckets of what sort of things?
Well, maggots and sheep's offals and turds. Anyway, but I say to myself, look, when else do you have a chance to spend 3 weeks without anything to read, without anything to write, just with a wonderful Australian jungle ahead of you and some great people? I mean, I think about my friends. Becky Vardy became a world hero.
You can do that, Stanley. You can do all those things without being covered in bulls' testicles and frog spawn and snakes and being buried alive with rats.
Well, I tell you what, let's imagine that it's a parody, not a parody, a paradigm of what real life is like in the political jungle, if you see what I mean. You could have little images of so-and-so and doing... In fact, there was a nice little cartoon in the Times today of... I'm a chancellor. Get me out of here. Yeah. And what was the pit? It was the 50 billion black hole. Yeah.
So you're saying, and you may be right about this. You think politics may be a perfectly good preparation for being buried alive with rats and maggots.
I'll tell you something. There's one reason I'm personally rather pleased they've selected Matt and taken his whip away, because I don't want the Tories to be voting for Jacob Rees-Mogg's bill to scrap 750 environmental laws and heaven knows how many other laws. Yeah. Do you see what I mean? And I'm afraid they are going to be whipped to vote for Rees-Mogg. And as you run it in the run-up to COP27, this is actually a disaster. It's an environmental disaster, all sorts of disasters. And the government really ought to be withdrawing it. And actually,
but how does this bear on that, Stanley?
Well, it bears on that. He has lost the whip, so he's not going to be able to vote. So
one less vote.
One less vote, and I tell you, one less vote is jolly important.
Yeah, but that's really looking for the silver lining from your point of view. Again, I'm not sure that Matt Hancock, after doing this, is really ever likely to be taken quite seriously as a political figure again. Is that right? Is that fair?
I don't think that's fair. I mean, when I was there, who came in the walk-on role, which is what Matt Hancock did? Who was it? Yeah. It was Kecia Dugdale, who was the actual leader of the Scottish Labour Party.
That is true.
And she could not have been a nice lady. She and I actually did the Factory of Fear together.
Yeah. Look, I mean, I hear
she survived.
I hear what you say. What you believe that Matt Hancock could conceivably make a big political comeback after being buried alive with rats and having maggots poured down his neck.
Let's have a look at Nadine Dorries.
Yeah.
Nadine, nobody...
But she wasn't taken seriously in quite the same way before, was she? Not in the same way.
Well, maybe she was taken seriously after she... after she participated in I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, and she's certainly a big cheese now.
What advice would you give Matt Hancock? Because you've been there and you've done that. I mean, is it going to be agony for him waiting to see if he turns out to be loved or hated by millions of viewers?
Well, he certainly won't really know that at the time, except insofar as the result of the votes make you eligible for voting or not. And for example, would you believe, we got 9 million votes in the first vote for the people, because that was for who should be Prime Minister of Number 10 Downing Creek. Yeah. So that was a nice moment. But I think on the whole he won't know whether he's been loved or hated until such time as he gets out of here and people say, well, you were great.
Yeah, that is true. What about the disappearing off to the jungle in the middle, Stanley, of a cost of living crisis for millions of people, instead of being at Westminster doing his job, the job that he was elected to do?
You know something? You can get quite a lot of points across when you are in the jungle. With any luck, those points don't always end on the cutting room floor. You can say some really important things, and you can think that actually 8 million, 9 million, sometimes 12 million people are going to listen to you. For example, he might say, by Jove, maybe we shouldn't have locked down on the COVID the way we did.
Well, that would certainly get a headline. Look, and there are truly enormous fees available. If that's the case, we all know that, don't we?
I'm not going to comment on that.
No, but don't tell me the number. I won't ask you how much you took home. Good luck to you. But they are enormous.
I think they vary from 0 to 100.
Yeah, and well over 100.
There we go.
Okay, you're sworn to secrecy. Good to talk to you, Stanley.
Love to be here, John. Thank you so much.